Hey everyone, you are listening to, or if you're on YouTube watching, the Startup Selling Podcast, Talking Sales with Scott Sambucci. Today is a daily dose edition of the podcast slash videocast. And as always, I've got Julian and Steven here with me. So today we just doing a little powwow before we hopped on to the recording. And the topic that Julian proposed was what? Over to you, Julian.
Distractions.
Distractions. Do we want to talk about distractions or how to avoid distractions?
Yep, how to avoid them.
All right. So first of all, why this topic? Is there something that came up for you personally?
Yeah, so I was personally struggling with getting distracted a lot by my phone, and I decided to do something about it, and I've been implementing for the past 2 weeks, and I've been moderately successful.
Okay.
So,
what did you do? Throw the phone out the window?
Yes, that works. Figure, man.
Yeah. So what specifically was distracting you about the phone, and what did you decide to do about it?
So I noticed that I was checking a lot. Like I woke up and I checked my phone, then I had a little time off and I checked my phone, and I was particularly using one app, Instagram. I don't know why, but yeah. So I was spending a lot of
Because
time.
you're an amateur photographer, not even so much of an amateur. You're an awesome photographer. I've seen some of your work.
Yeah, exactly. That too.
No, I'm serious. So yeah, of course you're going to check Instagram, right?
Yeah. So anyway, I decided to do something about it. I have an app that tracks phone usage throughout the day, and I was averaging around 2 hours a day, which
Wow.
yeah,
Wow.
so that's a lot of time. And so I
imagine if you were allocating that time doing work for me.
Imagine.
That's like that'd be awesome. No, sorry, keep going.
Yeah, so it was mostly like in short like time intervals. It wasn't like 2 hours in one sitting.
Yeah.
But throughout the day, it accumulates. So what I did was I deleted Instagram from my phone.
Oh, nice.
And I grayed out my screen like for good. I haven't turned it back to color in the past 2 weeks.
Okay.
And I've gone to like from 2 hours to like 45 minutes a day. So for me, it's a big change.
Yeah. So how are you measuring the 45 minutes if you don't have the app on your phone?
I don't have Instagram on my phone. I have the app that tracks phone usage.
Oh, okay. So your total distraction time is down to 45 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
Got it. That's awesome, man. And those of you, this is a trick. Julian was talking about the app, like graying out your screen. So I've got my screen grayed out. If you're on video, you can see it's grayed out. He showed me this hack that you learned from Tim Ferriss.
Yep.
Where if you go to, can you guys hear a Bing, by the way?
Yes, I can.
I can.
That's like a client like texting me right now. I'm going to turn off my text for a sec. Not that they're not important, but I know that this can wait 15 minutes while we do this. Obviously. So the hack is you go to general. If you go, you can just Google this, like turn your iPhone to gray screen. It does. It takes all the color away, and it saves your battery life like tremendously.
Yep.
Which is really cool too. So I had a similar problem, Julian, and Steve, I want to hear from you on this too, because one of the things that I realized is that when I wake up in the morning, that is my most active brain time. And so whatever it is that I pour my energy into gets like this tsunami of like, and the good news is if I choose to focus on work, I can get a lot done. So this morning, for example, I woke up and after I did my morning routine, I went to a coffee shop, got there at 6 and did like a 2.5-hour sprint. An hour of that devoted to writing, hour and a half of that focused on getting ready for the week, planning out meetings, confirming meetings with clients and prospective clients. And it was like in that 2.5 hours, I got so much done. But the downside is if I wake up and the first thing I do is check my phone, whatever my brain starts working on, it can't focus on anything else but that. So what I started doing at night is even as much as like when I first get home from work during dinner is I turn my phone to airplane mode. And sometimes I cheat and I still I go off of airplane mode at night and I'll check my phone and look at stuff. I'll check email or, Facebook and that kind of thing. But I have found, especially in the morning, by keeping it in airplane mode, I don't get any notifications. I wake up with a completely blank screen. And so that way I can choose first to do my morning pages, do meditation, do some writing. Then I have to say, okay, now I'm ready to engage with the world. And that helps me get a lot more out of the day. So I wanted to share that related sort of hack.
I love that. I'm going to use it.
Yeah, airplane mode. A lot of people only use airplane mode when they're on an airplane. And even then, they don't put it in airplane mode. So I'm like, but if you use the principle, like, hey, I'm in airplane mode. And the same on the weekends, too. Like what I'd really love to do is figure out a way to have a separate phone number only available to like family and friends. I know people do this. I just haven't taken the step. So that way I could turn my work phone completely off, put it in a closet or a shelf or something, turn it off, and not only have like a bat phone that's available for family and friends over the weekend. So that I'm not thinking about work over the weekend. So anyway, Steven, what about you? Have you had this challenge?
I have, actually. It's really funny to hear Julian mention the whole Instagram thing. I had a big problem with it as well. And I actually completely deleted it from my phone about a month ago, and I haven't been on since.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I've deleted like basically all my social media apps from my phone entirely, because I started to feel like I was getting programmed by it. Like, you have a minute, you go in there and you look, and like once I realized that, I was like, hold on a second, you're not programming me for this. So I just completely committed to getting rid of all of them, and my screen is not grayed out, but I don't use my phone during the day. I'll check it like after a sprint, so I'll use another timer completely to set my timers, and I'm just in there. And I just work on those things, and when it goes off, if I want to come out for air, I can check my phone. Or I think to answer the whole part with distraction, you kind of have to realize that, and Tim Ferriss mentions this, any news that you really need, you're going to get it when it's time for you to get it, right? It's not going to be when you're pushing that button and searching for that thing. Like, if it's important, it will find its way to you, and that's the right time for you to get it. So
totally,
you just got to recognize that. And if you can get that, your head around that, you're way ahead of the game.
Yeah, my dad gets all bent out of shape with me because he'll ask, like, I'll go visit or I'll talk to him on the phone, and he'll ask me about something. Oh, did you hear about this thing that Trump's doing? Or did you hear that thing about whatever? And I'm like, no.
Nope.
And he's like, no, of course you don't. Because you don't ever look at the news. I don't know how you never look at the news. I'm like, because if it's important, I'm going to find out. People are going to let me know. It's not, it's not that big a deal. And so it's also related. So it's not even just the minutes, like the totality of like the sum total of 2 hours. It's that as soon as the minute that you go off track, it's not just that minute. It's the 10 or 15 minutes it takes you to get back on track once you're off track, because your brain starts thinking about other stuff, or you have to reset where you were. Greg, there's a book called Essentialism by a guy named Greg McKeown, who I've read that book several times now. I first read it last year, like late last year, I think, early part of this year. And it's on my phone, on my Kindle app. And I read it a lot, like when I'm on planes or if I'm waiting, just to keep reminding myself of this concept of just like 100% focus on the things that are most important. Everything else goes out the window. And he talks about this distraction, which I said destruction, but it really, like, Freudian slip. It's completely destroys your day, because I found, like, I mentioned on weekends, I try to do free days, what are called free days. I learned this from a guy named Dan Sullivan, that there's only 3 kinds of days. There's buffer days, which is where you're doing like lots of admin stuff and maybe just like a full day of a bunch of meetings. There are focus days, which is where you're in your genius doing stuff that you love to do and that you're uniquely qualified to do. And then the third kind of days are free days. And that starts at midnight, goes to midnight the next day. No phone, no email, no text, nothing related to work, no reading about work. Even if it's like an article on HBR or TechCrunch, you don't read any of that stuff. You completely detach from work stuff. So I try to make Saturdays and Sundays free days. So Friday night when I get to bed until Monday morning, no work. And I've always found, I made the mistake once a couple of years ago where I got this voicemail from a woman down in Austin who I knew really, really well from the mortgage tech industry. And she's like, hey, Scott, could you give me a call back? I got something that's really important. So I was like, Sunday morning, I'm like, all right, called her back. And she's like, here's the thing. Like one of my speakers canceled on me. I really need you to come down, fly down to Austin, get up on stage, talk about this thing. And it was like Sunday morning, I'm hanging out with my wife and my kid, and I'm just like, my brain just vomited everywhere. I didn't know what to do. I'm like, should I go do this? Because she's a good friend and it's like on a big stage. Or do I like stay committed to what I plan to do that day and that week, because I would have had to hop a plane that afternoon. And I was like crippled. I was like in my kitchen, sitting on the floor, looking at my wife, like, why did I check my voicemail? If I didn't check my voicemail, I wouldn't have had a decision to make. But I checked my voicemail. And it just completely threw off the rest of my day, which was supposed to be dedicated to doing stuff with my family. So just like that discipline is really hard. And if you can stick with it, I think it really does make your life a lot better.
I think the other important part of that too is everybody can kind of get a little intimidated by like, oh, I'm just committing to no phone and no internet for this long. Like,
right.
You can do it for 5 or 10 minutes to start. Just, you got to start that whole thing, right? Like, just commit to saying, hey, I'm going to do 5 minutes of this, see how it feels. And then as you get more comfortable, go to 10, go to 20. Then you can go to a day. Then you could go to wherever else. Like, but just take the small step, because if you don't see it as a problem, that's also somewhat of a problem.
Yeah. Because like in the morning, a morning for me is a good time, I think, to use your experiment there, Stephen, where you say, look, I'm just going to keep my phone. I'm not going to check email until I get to the office, for example. So if you get to the office at 8:30 or 9, like wake up and don't check email. Like, does it matter to the rest of the world if you answer their email at 8:45 or 6:45? Probably not. If it's that urgent, just like with the news, somebody would have gotten a hold of you. And the worst is, like, if you're training people that, hey, if I send an email to Scott at 11 o'clock at night, he's going to answer it at 6:45 in the morning. Well, now they're going to think, if I don't answer the email at 6:45 and I wait till 8:45, they're like, wow, man, I was kind of expecting you to get back to me at 6:45. I'm like, well, dude, I was out running. Like, sorry. So a lot of it's just like training the people around you and setting the expectations that you're reachable, So I think that like morning time is a good time, or evening time the same way. It's like, even if you feel the need to check your phone all throughout the course of the day, like say, look, at 7 p.m. or whatever, I'm shutting down, because if it's that important, if somebody gets to me after 7 p.m., they can wait until tomorrow. Like, do something to experiment and give yourself back that time.
I would also add a slight wrinkle or an example. Julian, you mentioned you were 2 hours on your phone a day.
Yep.
All right. So like we often hear, I know like a lot of my friends, oh, I don't have time. How do you get time to practice the piano or to meditate during the day? And it's like, all right, if you're looking at your phone for 2 hours and you cut that in half, that's an hour right there in your whole day that you get to do anything you want with. Yeah. Right. Like,
yeah, that excuse is not,
it's not a good excuse. No. It's not. Yeah. It's like really kind of like it's distractions are you being afraid to be as efficient as you possibly can be. And we all get there. I know I suffer from that to an extent, but it's like, damn, I really got to handle this now. And that's the thing we all got to cope with.
I think it's also an ego thing for some people, like this feeling like I'm so important that I have to check my email all the time to get back to people, because the whole world's depending on me. If I don't get back to somebody right away, then it's really going to, annoy them, or it's not going to allow them to do their job. So I think some of it is ego driven for some people, and you have to sort of like let that go and realize like it's not that important. There's some few cases like you're trying to raise capital and it's the last day, you're trying to get term sheets together. Yeah, like you're going to be up late. But for the most part, 99.9% of the stuff can wait, or not even worth doing.
So, Agreed.
Dude, Julian, awesome topic, man. So you started us off. I'll give you a chance to finish this off. Anything else you want to add, or?
Yeah, if you're intimidated, or if you don't think you can do it, you start with the smallest step you can think of. It could be either logging out from an app and make yourself log in if you want to check it. That'll create a barrier, or just like set a timer and don't check your phone for 5 minutes.
Yeah, I like that. Set a timer and log yourself out of an app, because I never remember my passwords. So, like, oh, did I have a capital letter in that one or not? Exclamation point or not? There you go. Cool, guys. That was awesome. That was a fun conversation. So we'll let everybody get back to their day. I'll let you guys get back to your day. I don't want to be any more of a distraction to Julian here. I'm just wondering if I count as one of the, like, now I'm like part of his 2 hour distraction.
No, this is not Instagram.
Okay, cool. Awesome. All right, everyone. Well, those of you watching, those of you listening, thanks for listening to the Daily Dose version of the Startup Selling Podcast. We'll do another one very, very soon. If you're liking the format, would love to hear from you. Based on the downloads, we saw a huge pop in downloads when we started doing these episodes. So seems like people are liking it. So if you like it, let us know. Any topics you want us to just rap about, let us know about that. And if you're on iTunes and would be so gracious as to leave a review and tell the people in the listening audience how awesome this podcast is. It's one of the ways that iTunes spreads the word about the content, so we can get more and more people listening to it. So that's it for now. We'll do it again very soon. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. We'll let you get back to your day. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Take care.